Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 8th of February, comes to you from London. And the news in London this morning is BP's stellar results. In fact, BP's only up slightly, up 1%. That's because markets generally take these things in their stride. You can have really good news and the price doesn't react, or really bad news and the price also doesn't react. And so what we're seeing here is that BP have actually more than doubled in the last 2 years, and that's basically running ahead of these profits. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out that the oil price is a big driver for BP. So here we see the blue line is BP, the green line is the Brent crude price. Brent crude goes up, then falls, BP falls. Brent crude falls, the green line. BP gradually falls. The oil price plummets. BP falls from 350 to 200, and then the oil price rises, and later after that BP rises. So if you can analyze the oil price, you can probably analyze BP. And those of you who've seen our oil price report, it's in our for our energy clients in the reports. If you look at the special reports, we have one on how high the oil price will go, and those of you who've been reading those reports will know we've got very significant upsides for the oil price to go much higher, which will have a very big impact on BP's profits. So let's look at the markets. First of all, we start with the dollar index. It pulled all the way back last week, gave up most of the gains that we'd seen the week before, but we are still bullish on that medium-term chart, and short-term we are seeing a little bit of a turnaround on the 60-minute chart. Remembering this is my long-term, medium-term, short-term view of the market with the corresponding point and figure targets. So the euro is looking a little bit weaker against that stronger dollar, just rolling over, and sterling sitting at 135.40, just again falling through the cloud there, looking a little bit weaker, and against the euro can't just hold that 120 level, but the trend for the sterling is still very much up, just not this week. Bitcoin broke the $40,000 mark on the weekend, so actually looking much stronger, looking very much like a bounce on the long-term cloud, waiting for a move through on the medium-term chart. The S&P 500 index was down yesterday. Really, what is worrying is the fall through the cloud, the comeback to find resistance on the cloud, and then the fall away. A move below this level, we're cautiously bearish at the moment. A move below that level will activate these downside targets 20% lower. For the Nasdaq, it's actually 30% lower, so looking a bit worrying there. The futures are actually up today, though. The S&P future and the E-mini up 0.2%, so it does suggest that the market will open slightly higher. The VIX volatility sitting at 22. Anything above 20 is fearful. Anything above 30 is really fearful, and we are just seeing this trend building on the medium-term chart there. So for the moment, this week we're not so fearful, but the fact is that the VIX is making progressively higher lows, higher highs. That is the sign of an uptrend. Looking at the FTSE future, we're up 1/3% this morning. Of course, BP is a big constituent, although not a big change on BP. The DAX is up 0.5%, so markets really taking things in their stride. A fall of 15,000 on the DAX is really what we have to worry about. China actually open after last week's close for Chinese New Year, has started the week fairly well, but we are still medium and short-term bearish, so that is something to watch. The Sensex was down slightly. The Aussie market, which of course is very resource-laden, up 1%. So we'll look at the energy mix in a minute. We have got soft commodities lower. Gold sitting at 18.17, just holding that 18,000 level, and US 10-year yields sitting at 1.94%. That's making a new 2-year high. Yield prices going higher. 189 was the target. We're through that. We've got big targets here. 218 is the next big target. So 2% bond yields in the US. That's going to happen. We will see that. And the German bond yield, the Bund, still lower. And in fact, German yields are now higher than the ECB interest rate. So that's quite an interesting aspect as well. Looking at the energy mix, crude oil down this morning, but still bullish above the cloud. We've got a couple of mini downside targets, which is why we've gone up neutral to clients. US nat gas is up slightly. The big one is emissions, pushing all ever higher. Got some very clear upside targets on the 1 minute point and figure chart. Keep an eye on those. Gas prices recovering from yesterday's falls. We've given the key resistance levels there again to clients this morning. And German power up 5%, pushing ahead of yesterday's fall. Looking really quite ripe for a breakout there. So that's quite significant. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.